What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Market crash of all time. It is insane to watch the high-end slabs and sealed where they're going. I was thinking about this topic all weekend and I was getting pretty excited to talk about it, and Strictly Sealed did an amazing video on the heritage auctions, how the prices have come down versus where they're at. And I've got to say, if you followed the channel for some time, you know I'm not a fan of slabs, and he is a huge fan. Look at him. He's doing huge returns. He collects them. He's a big fan. I've got to say, watching his video, he is the most unbiased, talking about what's happening, where it's going, how he feels, and he did a really good job throughout his video conveying that. It reminds me of, like, me as a Godzilla collector, actually, where I get stuff, and whenever I buy, sell, trade, I push it right back into what I'm getting. He feels a lot like that with what he's doing over there. So, a couple disclaimers before we get too far into the video. First off, I'm super excited about this topic, and whenever I am, I might stumble through my words a little or stop and think, so do bear with the pacing of the video. And second, I am not a financial advisor. We're going to talk about huge number, people's personal investments, even what I would do and have done with a bit of my money during this. You're not supposed to replicate that. You are supposed to collect what you want to collect, and I'm collecting some pretty weird things when we talk about slabs, like the Marusho cards, which are actually stickers, and when it comes down to it, the 9s, the 10s, the things that are going out there in the market, they can go up, down. I can be right for the wrong reasons. I can be dead wrong. This is not financial advice. That being said, I think Strictly Sealed going through the auctions and showing how things have fallen out 75%, like on a lot of things. It shows the overhype of what actually led into the situation and the bad decisions that people made. But what isn't a bad decision is using code What'sGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly over at Mana Moon. You might wait a little bit longer sometimes for these first-time products that are going to be coming up because manufacturing errors can happen. She actually has the update and schedule on site now for that happening. But there is the Undying Tome. I've been waiting for a Book of Life based product for so long that has gone up, but also hoodies that will only be available through Sunday because they're trying to actually gauge the interest in different sizes for future pre-orders so they can have in stock. So this is a pre-order and it will only be live through Sunday as I understand it, and so many people have been waiting for this live twin drop as well as the Fallen Sovereigns, which, I mean, look at it, it's just really cool. It brings out my inner edgelord. And then the Sleeping Ruby plush also drops. So if you're to make a cart and you put multiple things in over on the site, like the thing that comes in last is when your entire cart will ship. So if you want things to ship as they arrive, do make extra carts and pay the shipping. Or if you do want to be cheaper and put it all together, you might be waiting longer if there are manufacturing errors on any of it, and it will be on the updates and schedule on the website right there. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about all of the lead up into the market crash and how exactly it bubbled up to this point. First off, we had crypto really heading up into the crush card, the world situation where everybody's shut in and not able to go out, and a lot of people started looking around what to do with their money as they also got stimmy checks, $1,200 in people's hands, and they wanted pieces of their childhood if they had extra money to throw around. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market loose, it went wild. Grading went wild thanks to both Pokemon and the exposure from creators and the video game industry, which actually there's tons of in-depth videos about the scams that happened there and what exactly like went down. I would suggest looking up on YouTube what happened in the video game industry. It's pretty sick. But this graded rush actually had so much traffic into grading that they upped the prices, slowed taking cards in, and even shut down at one point over at PSA in terms of taking in new submissions unless you came in person and paid super crazy amounts on grading. And people were trying to grade any and everything that just didn't make sense. Like, why are you doing prank kid. Oh, pack 1. I'm the #1 pack fan. Let's go. Like, why are you grading Prank Kid's place? It's not collectible. What are you doing? And you can see here, they bothered to slab it. They got a 10 on it, and they want $46 on it at this point. Things like this are what were relatively ridiculous to me. But when we talk about the super high end of the market, we're looking at first edition base set coming down. We're looking at things that usually, whenever you would say it, would only go up, up, up in some people's eyes, but there's always ups and downs to markets. There's highest examples of spending, and what I think a lot of people didn't consider with the slabbed and sealed market is sales rates. They didn't consider how often these things are selling, how many different buyers are actually there for these products, and the answer is, versus the average loose card, not a lot. It feels like Yu-Gi-Oh! Instagram is kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vendor hell, in my opinion, where a lot of people do flip this kind of a lifestyle, or there are also true fans of it that just enjoy to collect it like strictly sealed. But it's a lot of pushing more so of an ideal, and it steals the collectible away instead of letting you play it in past formats where some people do want the card. But in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market itself, a lot of bad sets that had sit there for like a decade. Dark Beginning 1, DR1, 2, 3, not DR4. DR4 is pretty good and historically gets a lot of buyouts, but sets that typically didn't sell out, all of a sudden were going. And I was getting messages from people that were like, I've just invested into Magic and Pokemon. Could you tell me what's good in Yu-Gi-Oh! To spend my money on? And I'm like, dude, you're not even a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're looking to come in and spend. No, I'm not going to tell you what to buy. You can watch my general content on my channel. No, I'm not going to point you directions and give actual financial advice on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. They can go any which way. And you can see that sets like this, they're still up versus 2019, but versus fees, shipping, depending on what it is, sales rates when you sold. Like, it's a lot of people flipping to each other that didn't necessarily really want it. Like, Blue Eyes White Dragon became the Charizard of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'd argue Dark Magician Girl actually acts like more of that in marketing, and Blue Eyes White Dragons are Pikachu in a sense, even though it's really badass. But there's no one-for-one comparison. It's not really a Charizard in Yu-Gi-Oh! When you talk about either of those cards. You have Exodia. I remember Exodia, the first ever show. Oh my god, Obliterate! What a moment, an icon! And again, Exodia, there's still the 1/1 scale bust statue that I own. It's still up for sale. They cut the edition in half. Icons in Yu-Gi-Oh! And different kinds of collectibles in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are still developing their market. But again, the high end is what people translated from video games, from Pokemon, from other things that could be tangible into here, and it's a market that was not as yet developed. In fact, if we go back a bit further, right, like you have the crypto boom, we talk about 2019, realistically, it's a Blue Eyes format that develops our collector's market. At that point, first edition, base set, near mint Blue Eyes is $60. We've seen skyrocketing in the collector market since, but it was the meta market that would regularly develop, cards would become good in the OCG, people would buy those cards. It was typically not the collectibles that went too crazy. I think of full not first edition, there's no first set, a full retro pack 1 set would sell for like $12 to $600 during that era, and that was collectible to the community. Now it is way past that, and understandably so. So many people have gotten jobs, they've gotten money, they do want a piece of their childhood, and they do want to collect, and there's only so many near mint copies. But the way this is going around, the way people came in without knowing what they were spending their money on, with just trying to hit the next big, I think, feeling like when they would invest in Bitcoin and it went up, then they got the right shitcoin and they got out at the right time. They want that next hit, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so much slower, yet it did skyrocket during this time of people willingly flipping and trying to lead them into this and not taking that hardline approach, and I think that's how it bubbled up, how it did. Now, I even during this time did a video, and before I do the video, I want to show the comment. I'm waiting for a video in 5 years titled, I made a terrible decision. I went through this, right? I spent $2,500 on these Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. Now, Dasher I bought for past formats. It actually played into the meta game. It went way up, and it's the only thing I've sold out of this, and I sold it at half price of its current thing in order to get back to my Discord for people that wanted to play them in the current format or wanted to resell them, and it still got me back like half of my investment. And when I did this, I did it for the point that people were complaining, everything that's good is sold out, and even bad things like Dark Legend and Dark Beginnings is sold out, and I bought what are considered junk ultis at the time. And people didn't just go buy what I did. I didn't buy out a single card. They were all available available immediately after I did it. I made sure that there were quantities, and most of it didn't move. And now, versus its peak like a year and a half ago, a year ago, it's actually fallen back to a degree, but I'm still mad up overall on this. I bought things like the King's Queen's Knight. They got support. Who could have seen that coming? Stuff like that. But when it comes to junk and memorable ultis for me, like Sasuke Samurai number 4, a lot of them are still up. And I even said my worst realistic expectation is that I go 2x in value, meaning after working shipping fees and I make 10% returns a year, I don't think it's that bad. I think some of these cards like Mobius may be somewhere at 80 to 120 depending. Others like first edition Cyberdark Impact random ultimates might end up at 8 to 10 like other cards do. However, Mobius is actually way past my expectations. Again, right, but not really right on the range. And this is after it's had time to come down. And people are selling this even cheaper now, 170. But I bought in on this card at $30 in this video. And people were still critical, saying I was going to take huge losses and that I made a mistake, right? So I think what it comes down to specifically for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is know-how, passion, and people like to play with their nice cards. Edison format, for example, other past formats are getting tons of traction, and that's what's hitting record prices right now among the market crash. Things are still getting bought out. They're still going up, but it's what people actually want to play. They have hope for Time Wizard format. I think it's overhope, but maybe some bigger official things will come for it one day. And a lot of people are into GOAT, Edison, and other past formats, but it's hard to get organized play for it. Sites like this are doing a good job at spreading deck lists and making events and that kind of stuff, but realistically, it is hard to get together in our community. I did want to go over, though, besides the bad slabs, specifically the ones I showed off, like I was looking through slabs in general, I actually bought these Marusho cards at around 300 a piece. I bought this auction as well as 1, 2, 3, 4 these. Now these typically, they're a weird collectible, go for 300 to 600 loose for a near mint, and that's historically what they have done. This one over here sold for $200, and I just want to show you real quick that it's pretty scratched up there on the top left, and it's got scratches on the right. This sold for $200, but the slabs are getting so ignored, and the slab market is getting so ignored that stuff like this is just going under the radar and is selling like that at auction. I offered this guy, I think, 1,200 on one of them, and I think he hardlined at 1,500 or something like that, and I ended up later buying from the same person 4 of them for the price I would have spent one at. That is, again, a 75% decrease, and this was at auction. Now, it's a more niche collectible. It's not a Yu-Gi-Oh card, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh sticker. They still look really awesome, in my opinion, but these more niche things are towards the bottom of the barrel for some collectors. I think they're neat, but the top end even is experiencing that same downfall, that same throttle and going down. And I've just got to say, when I look through everything, when I look at how the heritage auctions, when I look at how the prices are going, it was bound to happen. You have all this money going in, especially people not knowing what they're doing, and they're experiencing all these S coins failing. They're experiencing all this terrible time with crypto, and it's just another day in the office of losses for them to sell off at this, or even at a better point, maybe they made a little versus when they got in, depending on how long the grading process took and how terribly long things got tied up. So for them, it might be one of the only dubs they're even taking at this point to end up selling at what seems like losses from those sales that were so few and far between. Thanks for watching today's video. I know it's a lot to digest and take in terms of conversation, and I'm a bit all over the place because I do get truly excited about these topics. Like, they're what I enjoy to see when I look at market theory with Yu-Gi-Oh, how things are going, how things can surpass my expectations, both on the downside and the upside. And this is one that I've been personally waiting for because I figure it would happen, but not in the fashion that it is. It's going pretty wild.